Welcome back. Today we're reading from the section Nature, another photograph by John McCormick. I'll begin by reading the poem Cocoon. Coming out of winter slowly, skin shy of sunlight, we shed our inwardness and remember neighbors. We slough off the musty husk of our houses and stand in the thin sunlight of late March. We're vulnerable to the vagaries of this uncertain season and question our new commitment to miracles. The next poem we're going to read is called Movement. The great scab of winter sloughed off, leaving me lily-skinned and surprised by the abundance of green space growing and people flowing out of doorways into streets and walks that go anywhere to anything. In spring, it's movement that matters. The next poem I'm going to read to you is Waking on a Spring Morning. But before I do, I want to show you a photograph of cherry orchard on Old Michigan Peninsula. Spring is my favorite season in Michigan. It's a miraculous coming out of silence, the irresistible push of birth out of hard ground and stiff branches, of riotous color, and the peeping, grunting, growling of newborns. The orchard reminded me of driving down Redbud Trail with orchards in bloom on both sides of the two-lane road as I headed towards Buchanan to celebrate Mother's Day. Another favorite memory is I was fortunate to be in Traverse City for the Cherry Blossom Festival, with fireworks exploding over Lake Michigan. And then later we drove down Old Mission Peninsula to see the blizzard of cherry trees in blossom. But winter was my favorite season as a child. Winter is silence and solitude, the disappearance of the familiar. It is purity and promise. That's what I think as an adult. But in my childhood, it was my favorite season. It meant sledding down 3rd Street Hill and crashing into Jimmy Hawker's yard because our speed was too great to make the curve down to the next hill. It was also making the shape of a pie with our boots in the snow to play fox and geese. Summer and swimming were a distant dream. I don't have any poems or photographs to show you of summer, but it was a favorite season when I got a little older because there was Clear Lake that was just a couple miles from my home, which had a pavilion and a high dive board that I never dove from. It was just a great place to play in the water and have fun. And as I got a little older, it was a great place to meet friends and make new friends. When I got a little older, I had friends that had cars, so we could drive to Warren Dunes State Park, which was also a great place to meet friends as you were a teenager. Then later on still, when my brother, who had moved to Alabama for a job, brought his family back north to Michigan for a week in the late summer, and we always went to Warren Dunes State Park for one day. We'd pack things to make breakfast on the beach and have lunch there. And my mother and sister-in-law would sit at the top of the hill. We always set our camp up in the old part that still had some trees and shade, and they would sit at the top of the hill with their books while my brother and I and the boys, 3 boys, would run down the hill and play in the lake or go up into the sand dune. And the dune at Warren Dunes State Park was high enough that you could hang glide from. And so it was quite a hike up the hill, but it was a lot of fun running down. And it had small woods behind it with paths there that you could go exploring, which I had done on my own. But one day when I was there with the boys, I decided to show them the paths in the woods. And so we were wandering around in there, and my middle nephew, Alan, was with us, and he was a Boy Scout at the time. And he stopped and he said, "Aunt Lane," he said, "if we stop now," he said, "I can find our way back. But if we go any further, I'll be lost." Well, of course, I knew where we were, and I said, "Well, I said, all we have to do is go down this hill and around the curve, and we'll be right there." Well, he had to check it out for himself. By this time, it was not just Alan and Greg trailing with me, but there was a man with his own family that had decided that we knew where we were going and were following us. So sure enough, I went down the hill and around the curve, and we were back at the top of Tower Hill. So that was a fun memory that I had from the summer. As I got older, fall was also a favorite season of mine. Here's a photograph, another of John's photographs. And this is typical of what you might see. Michigan in the fall is absolutely gorgeous with the color of the trees, and the air is just kind of soft and honey. It's just a grand time to be alive. And here's what I said about the fall. There are good memories of fall with its honey, sunshine, and hint of frost. I love going to Uncle John's for sweet cider, donuts, and caramel apples, while listening to a player piano and coming home with Macintosh apples to bake a pie. Or taking a paddle boat down the river to see the splash of red, orange, and yellow trees shedding leaves that float down the river like little lazy boats. And this is a very typical scene. Here is my poem, Autumn. Across the river, a shadow runs in black slacks and a sweater. That happens in autumn among the ledges when the color is on. We think the spectacle of death has nothing to do with us. We rush out, loving all the bushes and berries we cannot name, and stand stunned by the beauty of the river stained gold and green and orange, by trees shedding multicolored leaves that drift downstream, reminding us we too are drifting with arms full of colorful dreams toward our own sure winter. That concludes my poems from this section. Next time we'll read poems to you from the section Climate Change. If you'd like to contact me, you can email me. You can also visit my website, lorrainesiegel.com.